TYFU.
How are you this day?
I'm feeling so grounded.
Grounded?
Mm-hmm.
You got bare feet on the floor?
I got some hot ass boots on the floor right now. Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
Take a look.
they look sturdy. Ooh, a little heel?
Will you look at those? They're
Ooh.
super witchy.
They have like multiple buttons, people. Multiple
right up the
buttons
ankle.
going right up the ankle. It's as sexy as you imagine. But only our Patreon subscribers.
OnlyFans.
We'll get to see it. More on that in upcoming episodes.
Anyway, I'm feeling grounded. How are you feeling?
I am feeling equally grounded in sensible sneakers.
Let me see.
They're kind of dingy.
I mean, they're fine.
I mean, they work.
They're fine. They look comfortable.
They got me here. Okay.
Yeah.
They're not going to be on the OnlyFans, but they're nice.
Okay, so we're here to record a podcast,
Yes.
not an OnlyFans video.
Correct.
And we usually start with a little segment about this week in retail. Do you have anything that you want to report? A little business. We need likes, follows, shares.
Absolutely
We need
it.
5-star reviews.
We need your grandmother. We need your aunt. We need your uncle. We need your
veterinarian.
neighbor,
Your veterinarian.
vet.
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure. Your car mechanic. We need
Yeah,
that person.
I can't tell you how weird I've gotten now that I have a podcast. Whenever I brush elbows with a fellow business owner or someone that seems to like small business, I come up with a reason to talk about the podcast, and you should too.
Thank you in advance.
Thank you for understanding.
So do you have any Today in Retail things that you want to talk about in our opening segment?
I do have one that I'm going to share before it leaves my brain entirely. Because sometimes I have Today in Retails that don't feel heavy enough to like write down on our Threads account. But I do want to share. And I had one recently. I had someone come into the store and they did a round and they were like, oh, I just wanted to stop in. I've wanted to stop in for months. I haven't been able to. And I had a few minutes before work. I just want to look around. I said, all right, you take your time. Let me know if you have any questions. And then they came back and they said, oh, I just love everything about this store, gushing about how wonderful it is. I said, yeah, we're just out here doing our best, trying to make it easier to find plastic-free products. And this person says, yeah, I wish that this kind of thing was out in the world more, which I agree with.
Wait,
I wish that
you, Marilla, wish
plastic-free
that
products
plastic-free
were out in the world more normal.
Normalize.
Which is why I'm doing
normalization.
Normalize it.
More common.
We want to see it. We love to see it. And that's, I think that's what I said.
We love to see it.
We love to see. Yeah, me too. We love to see it. And she goes, yeah, but I mean like Walmart and Wegmans, like they should have all of this in there. And now you're losing me a little bit because I mean, I do want to see it in those. I want to see it normalized, but now we're talking
how your competitors
really
can
big
directly
guys.
compete with your little
now
small
we're
business.
talking about how Walmart could squash me like a bug.
Yeah.
And so you're losing me a little. And then I said, yeah, I do. I love to see more companies, carrying plastic-free things because that's true. That is no lie. And then she goes, well, yeah, but what I mean is this should be out there in stores that people actually go to.
Oh, for God's sake. Oh, my freaking God. Oh, man. I feel like ripping this microphone off the table and throwing it across the room, except Kelly Walker would kill me if I did that.
Oh, my God. She goes, yeah, I just mean that we should have this in stores people actually go to where it's actually like accessible for people. Oh and God. I just screamed into the void and she ran away. No, I didn't do that, but I wanted to. I just looked at her. I said, well, that's why we do what we do. That's why we're here. That's why I get up every day and come to this store and open my doors. But yeah, it would be nice if these kinds of products were in stores that people actually go to. And I don't think
I mean, we know what she meant.
We know what she meant, but we're not here for that. We are here for Today in Retail.
We know what she meant. We know she didn't mean to be deeply insulting to you. But man,
I'm going to say one more thing about this person.
Go ahead, do it.
She didn't buy anything.
Oh my Lord. Marilla, God.
And she was really nice and she loved the store.
Well, then why didn't she buy anything? If she believes in what you're doing and she believes in the store and she wants more, she doesn't need toilet paper.
And she'll probably come back and then she'll probably look at the podcast and she'll probably listen to it and then she'll probably hear the story.
She'll hate you.
And then she'll hate me forever.
And then she'll be like just dumping shit into the ocean.
What's done is done.
She's like,
okay, it's been recorded. It's on air. And I needed to get that off my chest. But yeah, like, God, don't you wish your products were in stores that
where people actually
went?
Yeah, I mean, I've had comments sort of like that.
Yeah. I mean, it's not, unfortunately, it's not uncommon.
I mean, in some strange way, it reminds me when people are literally having conversations right in front of me, taking pictures of the books that I have on the sales floor, saying out loud to their friend, I'm just going to go ahead and buy this online. You know, it's right in front of you.
Right there. It's right there.
Oh, I'll just get it online.
Oh my God. I know. And it just sucks the soul out of you. But you're still supposed to be a nice little shopkeeper. And right. And when they leave without buying anything, you're supposed to say, have a nice day.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Hey, Beth, have you ever been to Kindred Fair in Geneva, New York?
Many, many times, Marilla. I love it there.
More times than I've been? You've never taken me.
No, we've talked about it. We'll get there.
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I love the fact that they make their food from scratch in-house and they source their ingredients from local farmers and growers.
It couldn't be more sustainable, and I know that you're kind of into that in your life.
It really gets me going. Yeah. I've never had a bad meal there. I've never had
a bad meal there either, or a bad cocktail. Their cocktails are great.
I also love the fact that when I'm feeling like getting a little fancy, I can pull out my fancy duds and strut in there, looking like $1,000,000. But also, if I just want to throw a blazer on with some jeans,
and look like $5,
and look like $5, that's all right. They treat me like $1,000,000, no matter what I look like.
You're wearing.
You can enjoy your meal in their gorgeous dining space, which makes me feel like I am some cool girl, and the staff remembers your name.
Well, that's part of it.
So they make you feel like you're a cool girl out on the town. A celebrity
is here in our restaurant.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let me treat you with the utmost care and respect. Let me anticipate your every need. And they also have a private space. So if you're having a bachelorette party, if you're having a family birthday party, if you're
having an intimate first date,
a rehearsal dinner, you can use the private space. But if you want to have an intimate first date and you want to rent out the whole room, God bless you. Do it.
All this can be found at Kindred Fair in Geneva, New York. We love it. It's in the heart of the Finger Lakes. And
they're open 7 days a week.
They're open 7 days a week at 5 p.m.
Do you have to make reservations there, Marilla?
I would. Even if you're just two people, I would call ahead. One, it's going to make sure you have the best experience. And two, they are a busy, busy place and everybody loves them. So if you want to make sure that you have a seat or a spot at the bar, call ahead. They will hook you up.
I guess this time we're going together.
I guess this time it's a date.
We have an episode. I think this episode was my idea. I had this idea after a very kind man invited me down to his new music store in Penn Yan, New York.
Shout out.
He's opening Dave Boyd's Music in Penn Yan. And he was moving into a space that there used to be an old frame shop. And since my business, Stomping Grounds, does framing, he invited me down to just kind of clean out some stuff. Anything I could use, I could take for free.
Oh, what a
very generous.
What a peach.
Very generous. So I went down to Dave Boyd Music, which used to be Frames Galore and More in Penn Yan, New York.
Oh, that's cute.
Isn't
That's cheeky.
And I found a whole bunch of stuff I could use, but I had kind of this weird sort of existential moment while I was there.
Yeah.
Looking at a lifetime of framing stuff.
Yeah.
like decades and decades of framing stuff.
And you had a mental breakdown.
I got a little bit philosophical.
Yeah.
About what will happen to my business at some point when the doors close.
Right.
I hear the gentleman who owned Frames Galore and More just kind of got tired of it. He was in his 80s and he didn't want to have a liquidation sale.
My bless him.
This is what I hear. I haven't talked to him personally.
Rumor has it. The streets are
that
talking.
He just was ready to walk away from it.
Right.
And here's all this stuff that my younger business, but not young business, younger business can use. And so I absorbed it. But I got thinking about, what is my exit strategy? What does it look like when I'm ready to walk away from Stomping Grounds? So I stuffed the envelope.
So she furiously scribbled it down and she stuffed it into the envelope. She planted it.
Yep.
And we have something exciting happening. I feel like this is a unique moment because our guest that we pulled for this is a fellow business owner, but it's one of the first customers of yours that we have pulled. So just in case you were thinking you were safe, customers, if you're listening to this, you're not, because you could be pulled to be on TYFU
I might
Pod
tap your shoulder
at any moment.
Yes. So this poor man was in my store buying some books, as he is wont to do.
And he is a local legend. So
I said, hey, local legend, why don't you come join us on our podcast? And boy, was he interesting.
Boy, was he interesting. Yeah. And that makes me want to rip an envelope.
All right, Marilla, I wish you would.
Ripped. And our topic is exit strategy.
Exit strategy. I think about it every day.
Okay.
I think about it from morning till night. Every day. How am I going to get out of this thing?
See, I'm just such a young spring chicken that it never even crosses my mind.
I'm just kidding. I love my business. I love the work I do. But I do wonder, if it's going to end, first of all, when it's going to end, and if it's going to end gracefully or tragically.
Or dramatically.
Perhaps? Is it going to be a controlled landing? Or is it going to be a crash and burn?
Literally burn the building down?
Yeah, I mean, that's occurred to me too. Yeah.
For myself personally, I'm not diving into this thought process yet, but I grew up in a small business. My parents have a small business, and now my mother runs it. And, I imagine she wants to retire someday. So we're having those conversations too. So I'm ready for this topic. Mm-hmm. It's almost like we came up with this topic ourselves. It's almost like
we thought of it.
We thought of this.
Since we haven't shut down
walked away
from our, life's work.
Right.
I thought we should invite a guest, and we have done that. We've invited a guest.
We have someone in the Red Room studio
ready to speak on this topic. And if this guest will introduce himself.
Take it away.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I am Mikel George.
Local celebrity, guys.
Formerly DBA Area Records and Music.
Also local celebrity.
Downtown Geneva.
Yes. I mean, this is a legendary business.
It is. For those of you listening from England, you wouldn't understand. But
right.
It's truly a legend in Geneva. Literally last week, Michael, I saw somebody posting on Facebook a picture of the storefront saying, I miss it every day. And we all do. But it's crazy how I see it still years later.
Because how long has it been closed now?
How long has it been closed now?
Yes.
As of September 30th, 2017. That ended 40 years of business, which I thought was a good rounded number.
My goodness.
Congratulations.
Congrats. That's insane.
They thought, Mike, you'll do it until you're 70, which would have brought us into 2020. And I'm glad that didn't happen because look what happened in 2020. And how are you going to close out a business during a pandemic nonetheless?
Yeah.
Because I decided not to sell the business because someone else could have kept that name And as a result of that, I said, I'm going to liquidate instead because I don't want anyone else having that name.
Well, let's pause.
Hold on. I have so many questions already.
First, I want to, for the listener who's not familiar with Area Records, could you tell us a little bit about what sorts of stuff you sold there?
We were general music stores, like I like to call it, retail, and we started out as a record store with, record accessories and some record players and things like that, which kind of just grew and blossomed. And as it did, we got involved with instrument accessories and then instruments. So we carried, guitars and drums. We had band rentals. I would buy name brand used band instruments, various percussion or various brass and woodwind instruments and things like that. And we would recondition them and rent them for a lot less than the major companies were coming through the area and doing. So I didn't have to advertise it too much because I only had a couple hundred of them and they all went out the door.
Oh, that's amazing.
So that kind of worked out. But a lot of guitars went through the door.
Yeah.
Acoustic electric guitars.
And one ukulele. To me.
Just one.
Yep, just one. And I still have it to this day. She's hanging in.
Oh, we bought my daughter's first guitar from Area Records.
Ooh.
And she's an avid guitar player, so,
Yep. Because something that was nice about going into Area Records, there was a lot of guys in there that would help you pick out the right thing. And then, am I mistaken in saying you also had lessons available through
Yes,
Area
we did
Records?
have lessons all the way through the whole time we were open, particularly on Seneca Street, because we started at 1 Franklin Square for about the first 5 years.
Right
and
around the corner.
there was no more room left in there to expand because we kept knocking walls down and expanding. Then I purchased the building on Seneca Street, and then we elaborated.
That's the dream. So, would you have those lessons? Did you have upstairs space for the lessons, or
in Seneca Street? Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Very cool. Very cool. So, just a hubbub of music-related things. All things music.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got into videos and then DVDs, and always recordings was the blood run, I would call it, because it was our constant from records to tapes to eventually CDs. Then, of course, right back to records again, vinyl, toward the end before we closed out.
Mm-hmm. That's wild how that came back. Somebody the other day, as we all know, I'm in a band. If you didn't know, now you do. We were working on an album, and they said, well, you said you're going to make a record. Does this mean it'll be an actual LP? I said, we'll see. And they're like, well, when are you going to make an 8-track? I was like,
there you go. Oh, boy.
Who is using that many? No, we're never going to. That did not have a resurgence like records.
There has been a little resurgence on cassettes, though, I've noticed.
I've seen this.
Yes, I still every day check, the music reports on various things. I guess it's a habit I'll never get out of.
Of course.
But it's funny to see how they've kind of tried to bring that back a little bit, but it hasn't happened big time.
Well, as soon as somebody completely unravels one and has to take the pencil and wind it back up, that'll die. They'll leave it out. They'll say, never mind, it's not worth it.
It's interesting, though, just to tangent into my business for a minute. People were always saying the e-readers were going to take over the world, and they have made an impact on things. But there's a certain romantic relationship that people have with books.
Oh yeah,
in the same way that I think people have a romantic relationship with vinyl. Yeah, and it just love never dies.
Love never dies.
Yeah, before I opened up the store, I used to go on shopping sprees, go and hit all the bookstores and record stores, whether it was in Toronto or New York City or wherever, at the and Syracuse University used to go to quite often, and but always hit the bookstores and record stores. Those were the main objectives.
Right. You can't miss them.
And now being retired, I can just concentrate on the books a little more. But I'm still listening to music all the time. I take a lot of my long walks. I get about 2 albums worth of listening during those walks.
Well, you are a consumer of information. It seems to me, since you are a customer of mine, I'm going to speak to the fact that you do read a lot, and it sounds like you listen a lot still. Yeah. And so you like to take in, things from the outer world, and
it's all forms of art, really.
Which I think is why Area Records hit so well for so many. I mean, if I can speak to just the small business world, I feel like the small businesses that hit are the ones that are run by people that are truly consumers of the passion that they've made their business
absolutely
out of.
Appreciative of
right,
of all that.
A kindred spirit in the sense, so whether
so your customers can truly connect with you, and you can truly connect with your customers.
Well, we tried to have fun with them all the time too. We would give them names or whatever, and my name is such and such. I'm sorry.
Did they know about the names?
Some of them, no.
We name our customers too.
And some know their names and some don't. Oh my God. So I want to go back to, Beth, do you have any questions? I know you usually have a list.
No, I don't have a list.
Oh my God. We're just flying free.
Open air here.
Yeah.
Very good.
Air.
Let's fly.
Okay. All right. So my question, going back, you mentioned you made the decision not to sell.
Right.
How long was that something you were just like, absolutely not, I want control over this, in a sense? Or did you have to wrestle with that? Because I think for me, that would be a huge wrestling match for me.
Whether to sell or liquidate type thing?
Yeah, because I can totally relate to what you said about wanting to ensure that your idea and dream of the space and the business continued, and even just knowing that your customers are being handled in a way that you would handle them
exactly
is something that I think about. But then on the business side of things, I think, okay, am I just being overly sentimental? Like, should I?
I don't know. That's really, I think that's quite personal, really.
Right. But did it take you a while to get there?
Not really. Not after I would talk to a couple of realtors and all, and some other business people that I was letting in early that I was going to be doing this, getting out of the business. And but when it was mentioned that someone else could continue under that name, they put a squish on it immediately.
Right.
Because then if I did and they carried that name on and something goes wrong or gets a little weird, people are going to still look at me.
Always. They always will.
Right. So I said, okay, you know what? It'll probably come out about the same if I sell it or liquidate. So what the heck? Plus I got out of it what I wanted.
Yeah.
And so we liquidated, and whatever I had left, I gave a lot of it away.
Yeah.
I gave away all my fixtures, because I didn't want to get involved in having to sell the fixtures and all and get into that whole trade.
It's a pain in the ass.
And whoever wanted it, you can just come and take it. And I had customers come in, take record racks and hooks off the wall and displays and whatever, and really made it easy helping to empty the building out, because I had sold it by that time.
You sold the building by that time?
Yeah.
That's nice. So it was tidy. You're so right. You saying that it would always reflect on you reminds me of when my days at Mother Earth around the corner, run by my cousin Cindy for many, many years. My cousin Cindy and her sister Melinda. I would say 10 years before she got out of it, before she decided to retire and close down, she was pretty much running things off-site. Like, she was running stuff from home. She was working from home. Her sister and I were in the store for the most part, and a few other employees. And I can't tell you, if something went wrong or if someone was unhappy, it didn't matter. I was there almost 10 years, and it didn't matter. They would still be like, okay, well, could you call Cindy about this? Because that's where the buck stops, which...
Yes.
It's totally true that even if you're entirely out of the picture, which in the end, for many customers, she was out of the picture entirely, but you just have that idea of her responsibility and her endorsement for everything that happens.
I talk sometimes about the bookstore I used to run before we moved to Geneva. And my decision to sell that has not been brought up on the podcast, I don't think, but...
No, this is new information.
Yes,
Interesting.
yes.
Interesting.
I sold the inventory and the fixtures, and I moved out of the location. I transferred a bunch of stuff, but I kept the name.
Oh, you didn't sell the name?
I didn't sell the name. So...
was there worth in the name? Did that
there
factor?
was to me.
Well,
right?
Yes, sentimentally. But when you were factoring the dollars and cents, like, did the agent you were working with, was there any kind of like dollar amount?
Agent.
Okay.
The agent
Was it you?
I was the agent.
All right.
My cat was the agent.
All right. Well, did you and the cat decide that there was, did you assign any like dollars and cents value?
I thought it would have been worth more with the name because I had been in business about 10 years at that time. So I thought it had some value. But I didn't want to let it go because there was something very personal in the name for me. And I have to say that while the bookstore that I sold, meaning the inventory and the fixtures, and it was in the same location that I was in with the same phone number. You know what I mean? Like everything was the same except
not you, not the same name.
Not me and not the name. Sometimes I would go visit that store.
Oh, weird.
It was weird. And it existed for a long time. It's no longer open, so I suppose I can talk about it freely. But I would see the owner making different decisions than I would make, and that was hard for me. Not because I'm always convinced I'm 100% right, but you know,
you started
I had opinions.
Yeah.
I had opinions on what should happen there.
Yeah.
And it didn't even have my name on it. So I can understand this protectiveness.
Oh, yeah.
And if you ever get into a position where you're thinking of selling Marillas,
right?
How is that going to feel?
I don't know.
Super weird, dude.
Super weird, dude. Yeah. I think about that all the time. And I can envision it now because now that we have 2 locations, it used to be just with the one location, I was pretty much always on deck. And I could pretty much always vouch for what was happening at any given moment in my store. But now that I have 2, I have to force myself to trust that I'm being represented and that the store is being represented correctly, or not correctly, but the way I would prefer it to be represented without me being on the premises. So that gets my gears turning about this topic of exit strategy, of like the amount of trust you got to put in somebody.
Well, I think it's interesting that Michael said that you thought you could get the same, basically, selling the building and liquidating the inventory than selling the business. Because when we have like these business valuations, which are based on weird formulas that may or may not make sense.
That we all have to just agree on.
Yeah. I mean, they make you think that your business might be worth a whole lot more than it is as a business.
Right.
So tell us about the thinking there. Like, you must have come to a point where you did some of these calculations and you thought, like, 40 years, the reputation, the clientele, the loyalty, that's worth something.
Certainly is.
Did you ever get to a point where you sat down and like scribbled out on paper what it's worth to you, and do that? Like, you know, most of us small business owners have Googled, what is my business worth? And then done the math, and it's like 10 times as much as your...
My business is worth approximately $30 million. I'll take 15.
We'll settle for 15.
I think right off the bat, what you do feel is that it would be worth more in receivership financially compared to liquidating. Possibly. But like I say, after various discussions and looking at it very closely, it didn't take really a very long time for me to decide that to liquidate. But like I say, the big pushover on top of that, no matter what, because I was already satisfied with what I've received from it, was to liquidate, protect the name, and no one else can use it, and just get out of town.
I mean, and that's so, I think that's key, is you mentioned twice now that you'd gotten what you'd wanted out of it.
Yes.
Like,
and that's why also I didn't get into the point of like wanting to sell my counters and the fixtures or whatever. I just gave it all away.
Get it out of here.
Yeah. And I left some of it there, some of the counters for the people that purchased the building from me.
Right.
Because they were putting another business in there. And here, if you can use it, have it. Otherwise, you sell it. I don't care. I'm out here. I walked out of there with just one large storage case of paperwork, basically. And
incredible.
And it's, outside my office at home now.
Yeah. Should you ever need it.
I figure years from now, I'll open it up and go through things and have a good laugh,
Remember a couple days of paperwork that gave you a heartburn?
Yeah. I saved some of the checks and my journals and all that type of thing.
Oh. Did you journal through
I did all my own bookkeeping and whatever, except the end of the year stuff that you got to have legitly done through your account and all that.
Yeah.
But I did payroll and everything else and all that because I could, and I have somebody else look at what my business is doing.
Right. Yeah.
As far as I thought, it was totally just me.
Yeah, you were so in-house. And, some long-term staff.
Yeah.
Very low turnover
we had some
at
good
Area
characters.
Records.
Yeah, no, they were all friends, fortunately. There was some turnover, but it was very casual, and it all worked out, fortunately for us. For a while there, I thought I was going to look into a second store.
Oh, yeah?
And I did look into it. We came close to it a couple of times in the Canandaigua area.
Oh, Canandaigua.
Yes. But I thought, why split up the talent? Was the other thing. And like you mentioned, the fact that being there for every little thing, because there's some things that not everybody else does when you own a store, because you're looking at every single thing a little more closely than your employees will, basically. No fault of their own. It's not their business.
Right.
So, I decided, I'm going to keep it all under one roof and let them come to us from there.
Right.
And they did.
Boy, did they. I was at my Rochester location last weekend, and the car that was parked out front had a bumper sticker that said Area Records on it.
Yep.
So, it's still out and about, and they really did come from far and wide.
No, I had some car pull out in front of me a couple of months back, I remember, and I'm thinking, what? And I noticed the sticker, and I go, oh, okay, that's cool. You're good.
That's one of my guys.
Yeah. Leave him alone, Mike. Get off it.
I love it. I'm thinking of your staff. I'm thinking how long they were with you. Decades of employment?
When you decided, how far ahead did you tell your people?
Yeah, this is what I was getting to.
Okay. I was starting to think about it more often. It was probably early 2015. And one day, while having coffee, walking through a park in Toronto with one of my brothers, we were talking about, how far are you going to go with this and go with that? And I just openly said, you know what? I'm closing 2017. That'll give me, this much time to prepare for it and get ready, because it'll be a process. I want to start out with it mentally and then work it into the store system. So anyhow, I knew that, and I kind of mentioned it to the wife, and be quiet, don't say anything to anybody.
Not a word.
And that was about as far as it went, as far as anyone knew. And then the beginning of 2017, right after New Year's, I had Jeff and Keith a little meeting with them and told them, guys, guess what? It's going to be 40 years come this September 2017. I don't want to do it at the age of 70. And I don't want to go into like 43 years or 42 years. It's got to be rounded number.
Right.
If I don't do it in 40 years, I'm going to have to wait to 45 years.
Right. And then if you get cold feet, then you're looking at 50 years. It's a mess.
It's your golden wedding anniversary.
So I told them at the beginning of 2017 that don't say anything to anyone, keep it among us, but preparing yourselves mentally and all that come September, around the 40th anniversary, because we opened on September 12th, 1977, and our last official day of business before liquidation was September 15th, 2017.
Wow.
So it kind of worked right out. Wow. And the liquidation lasted until September 30th. We thought it'd go on into October, November.
Sometimes.
But things happened so quick, and I couldn't believe the people that came through that it was good enough at September 30th, the last day of the month.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
Did those grown men cry?
did those grown men cry?
Yes.
No, they kind of like looked at me, but they kind of understood also and realized. The one I was most concerned about was Keith, because being younger than Jeff and myself.
Right.
Jeff had other plans to put more work in with the church and the food program that he helps run.
Absolutely.
And so he was okay with it, and it was going to give him more time.
It was lining up with his timeline. Right.
Exactly. That kind of worked out. And Jeff or Keith was able to go on and pick up on a couple other jobs. So and everything stabilized for him.
Yeah.
So fortunately, but that was the only thing I really worried about, to tell you the truth.
Of course. Because you do, I get connected to my employees after a couple weeks.
Yeah.
I can't imagine not having that, for lack of a better term, like that mother hen kind of feeling about like, okay, I want you to be okay. I know it's not my responsibility, but it's been your responsibility for a long time.
Yes.
It's hard to let go of that mentally and not be like, okay, so what are your plans? Like, we can do this.
Yes. No, and we were kind of close knit and all that. So that's it's all part of it.
Of course.
I would like to know, during the liquidation sale, and people were coming into the store, and they all want to have a conversation with you about their relationship with you, with the store. Marilla and I have compared things to being in a calling hours line in the past. Like you're attendant of at the death, and you have to console every single person who's losing you when they're not necessarily aware of what you're also losing. Talk about that a little bit. There
was that going on in the meantime, but it was so crazy because the store was full of people. What surprised me more than anything else was people knew there was going to be the liquidation, and before that started, we had quite a number of people coming in, buying stuff at the regular discounted prices in advance because they didn't want to lose out not getting something that they wanted from Area Records and Music.
Yeah. Right.
Which kind of I thought that was kind of bizarre. But once the liquidation started, I couldn't believe the crowds and all. And then you had TV people coming in, sticking microphones in your face going, what do you think? Well, I don't know. I'm really busy right now.
Right.
But the other thing was, after we closed during the whole month of October, I would still go in every day because I wanted to get things reduced down, get things in order and whatever, and have people still coming in, getting the fixtures out and that type of thing. But customers would still walk through the door, come in, see what's going on, just wanted to say goodbye. And that's when I was able to have more conversations with them, was during that time period.
Right.
They didn't think anything of walking in through the door, even though the business was over with, but the door was unlocked and they were welcomed.
I was going to say, did you think anything of it? Was it okay by you?
Oh, God, yes.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how many people shared their experiences with you in that season.
Yeah, they did. They were happy for me, but at the same time, and still, if I go somewhere and I run into these people, it's like, we really miss you. Well, you saw the thing.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
I was really
Kelly
impressed.
Weeps about it regularly. We have to console him before every podcast episode. Yeah, so many of the local musicians in Geneva, New York, and Rochester, New York, that I know have fond memories of starting out with visits to Area Records, and it's really crazy to see the impact of that. And crazy that you had the nerve to let it all go. No, I'm kidding.
I thought 67 is a good age to retire.
I think it is. I really think it is.
But I enjoyed it. I never thought of it as work ever. Really, it was enjoyable because people entertained me.
Oh my God!
And you get quite a mix of characters, and then being in the music business nonetheless.
Yes.
These people are much more open-minded and more free to go, and it was just great.
So when you were having these kind of conversations with your customers and getting some closure, I imagine, during that last month of October, how was your state of mind then? Were you like, I can't wait to just be done with this? Or were you at all verklempt in any way?
Well, I was kind of excited. I knew it was over, and looking forward to, like I've mentioned to you before, not having to go to school any longer. Because once you get into kindergarten, from that point on, you're on a schedule. And you're going to school, and then you're getting maybe a job after school. Then after school, you have college. If you're going to school, then after that, you get back to working again. You have a job. So every day, you're scheduled.
Yeah.
And I just, it was very, well, I suppose we'll talk about later, but it took a little getting used to once it was over, and I didn't have to go into the store every day.
I can't imagine.
Still looking at the clock. Oh, no, Mike, you don't have to go in,
The muscle memory. The muscle memory.
It took a couple of weeks.
A couple of weeks?
It took a couple of weeks, yeah.
You're a god,
for it to
Michael.
slowly wear down.
I feel like it would take me a couple of years to not, be feeling like I got to get up and get going. But
well, you know what it was, and I won't forget the moment. It was the day after Thanksgiving, 2017. I was off on one of my walks. It was a beautiful day. The sky was blue. The sun was shining. I looked up in the sky and go, wow, this is the first time since 1966. Or actually, yeah, the first time since 1966 that I didn't have to go to work the day after Thanksgiving.
On Black Friday?
Oh, Black Friday.
Yeah, Black Friday.
Oh, my God.
Because I worked in a drugstore when I went to high school. Then after that, when I came home from college on vacation during that time, I went to work on the day after Thanksgiving in the drugstore and that type of thing. And then I got into the business. But it was always the day after Thanksgiving. I was busy working. And this was the first time I didn't have to do that.
First time in 50 years you got to digest your Thanksgiving
and then I
meal.
go, wow, guess what? I really am retired.
That does sound nice.
That does sound. No, listen.
Yep.
So after you got used to being closed and not having to show up at the store for certain hours, did you find it hard to fill your time, or did you?
Oh, no, not at all.
No?
No.
Hell yeah.
There's one thing I don't like doing is wasting time. So physically or mentally, I have to be busy somehow. And fortunately, where I live, I'm about half mile from the Ontario County pathways.
Oh, nice.
And so I get to take all year round, I'll go walking. I usually put in 5.5 to 6 miles. And it's just all nature walking and all, like I say, put down the AirPods.
Yeah, I'm gonna pause you there.
Yes.
As a former owner of a music dynasty, what are the 2 albums you're listening to right now on your walk?
Back in my catalog, things I have that I had on album that I got on CD that now I've got Apple.
Yes, yeah.
I'm impressed on how enhanced the music's coming through on that. And I listen to rock music. My prime is like 60s and 70s stuff, and a lot of jazz. Most of my collection is jazz.
Oh yeah. So what was the last album you listened to start to finish? The
last one, well, actually, it was an artist out of England, part of the Canterbury scene back in the day, Kevin Ayers.
Okay.
He was in the original Soft Machine, went off on his own, and his second album was called Shooting at the Moon, and Mike Oldfield actually plays guitar on that. He's the guitarist in the group at that time. But anyways,
Start to
give that a good listen.
All right, we're going to check it out, and we're going to tell all of our England, UK listeners, if they haven't checked it out, that one's for you guys.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, we have 2 listeners in England, Mike.
And on that same walk, after I finished that on the way back, I listened to Coltrane's Blue album, and love Coltrane.
I love that. Hell yeah. That's a great walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if anybody is wondering, the Ontario Pathways, this is a local nugget. The Ontario Pathways is a long pathway that used to be a train track.
Yes, right.
And you can walk from one side of the county to the other, right?
You can.
That's what I'm thinking. So it's a really nice walk. Would recommend. And if you go, you might run into local legend Mikel George. But don't bother him. He's listening to music.
I will wave hello.
Okay.
But what? I've run into customers on the pathways a couple of times, stop me and on. Whenever I see them and all, I enjoy talking to them, and I'm kind of surprised they want to know what's going on and what have I been into and all that type of thing. And of course they mention, we miss you guys, but
what's something you do miss about having your store?
The people.
And what's something you absolutely don't miss one bit?
The change of attitude in some people, as well as business distributions and whatever.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason, too, I wanted to get out. Things are starting to get a little too weird. I think the distributions were feeling the pinch because of online retailing going on, and they kind of passed some of that on to us with their frustration or whatever. And I'm thinking, oh, my Lord, and
you didn't sign up for
took
that.
a little bit of the fun out of it.
Yeah.
A little bit. So that I don't miss at all. But the people is the most important thing.
Yeah, that's the thing that keeps you going.
It's all about the people.
I think eventually I will miss the people most and also miss the people the least. Right? Does that make sense?
It makes total sense.
Yeah. I'm going to say that during the pandemic, when I was not going to work 6 days a week and spent a lot more time at home, but was still selling things online from home, I really liked that for a while. And I really thought, like, maybe this is the way to go. Maybe I'll pull a Super Casuals and just not reopen to the public.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe we could talk about Super Casuals.
Yeah, I mean, you want a short tangent that? Super Casuals
on the same street as Area Records and Stomping Grounds.
Right.
Longstanding Geneva business.
Yep.
That has a strong online presence. They sell clothing, right?
Mega
Boots
strong.
and clothes,
like heavyweight
Carhartt,
Yeah.
Columbia, that sort of thing. They had an open shop, but they made the decision after the pandemic not to reopen it to the public and just continue selling online.
And from what I know, still thriving online. Still thriving
and
online.
Joe Fragnoli does not regret that decision one little bit. One little bit. I've talked to him about it many times.
Come on, Joe.
I'd like to have him on the podcast eventually.
All right, you heard it here, Joe.
In any case, I thought about that for myself. I don't know if you thought about it at all, Marilla.
I'm going to let you talk, Beth.
Okay.
But first, I'll just say that I am so thankful for the fact that this was the case, but I sold cleaning products and toilet paper and food. And so I never had to close. And thank God I didn't, because I had just opened and I was like early 20s and I had no money.
Sure.
So like the pandemic hit and I all but locked my door, but I was passing stuff out. It was busier than I'd ever been. Thank goodness. But I never got a break. If anything, it was a blur of activity. And I was just praying every day I wouldn't get sick and have to be out for 14 days.
Yeah.
Because what would I do? So I never got many businesses in New York, for context, were closed if they weren't deemed quote unquote essential. And I was deemed quote unquote essential.
And I was a non-essential.
And Beth was a non-essential.
But I didn't technically close.
But you locked your doors.
I locked my door because you legally had to.
You legally had to lock your door, yeah.
And I was walking, by the way.
Mike was out on
and reading and listening to music and smiling and feeling sorry for everybody who had a hard time with it,
Yeah, just let the record show that Michael was at peace and healthy and strong.
So anyway, I thought for a minute, like, man, this is nice not having to show up every day and deal with all the different elements and stressors of an open shop.
This could be it.
This could be it.
Maybe.
But then I started to think about how much I would miss people and how much of my personal identity is wrapped up in being downtown and the relationships that I have with people. And I had a little bit of a crisis thinking, like, would I be fulfilled if I was just selling online? And who am I?
Yeah. I mean, I guess now that you're saying that, in a sense, I can somewhat relate, because as I mentioned, I worked downtown for almost 10 years at a health food store. And then the owner of the health food store decided to close down. So we closed the shop down. And then I had about a year and a half in between the health food store that I worked at and opening my own business. And I can totally relate to, I enjoyed my time not having a schedule, planning the business. But there is something too that when I came back to it, I missed being in the know of like, what's going on downtown. And I think some of that is just, I had just started my career working downtown. So, I'm not cooked yet. Like Michael's, you've probably heard enough of what's going on downtown for the rest of eternity. But I definitely missed that. I wondered, what's going on with my mother customers? Where are they? How are they? And I can relate to that.
So I feel like I've got one foot in and one foot out right now. Like I still want to be downtown. I still want to be active. I still enjoy it, but I am kind of wondering like, how is it 10 years? Is it 15 years? Is it 20 years?
Well, you're only 25, so you probably have a good 30 years left.
I mean, as soon as somebody comes along with that 15 mil, though, I'm out.
Well, you do know, too, that when you decide to, you probably could carry on and doing it just online.
Yeah,
eventually, as part of retirement, if you feel like it.
Keep that name. Mm-hmm. Keep that name. Yeah, I think it's natural, and I think it's healthy. I mean, we've all seen in the small business community, we've all seen the business owner that works until their dying day.
Yes.
And there's some romantic factors there, but the reality of it is exhausting, and the reality of it is scary, I think, for the family and the business owner. Like to go that far and not have one foot in and one foot out, I think is a dangerous game and not super healthy. Okay, so this question is kind of for both of you, actually. Surprise. I'm here to learn from my elders, okay? Sorry, Beth. No apologies, Mike.
No, that's quite all right at this point.
But my question is, is there anybody that stands out in your minds that stayed in it, I don't know, until their dying day, or stayed in it maybe too long in your opinion, or maybe just stayed in and you have thoughts about it? Like, is there anyone that stands out in your mind that was just like, wow, they just never, ever had that exit strategy thought? Beth, you want to grace us with one first?
I mean, I'm thinking about a gentleman who owned a local bar who declared, I think to anybody who would listen, that he wanted to die behind his bar. And
there are ways.
In fact,
yes.
When he was declaring that to me, I think he was already in his 80s.
Wow.
So, and he didn't get that opportunity. I don't know.
Did he sell?
No, I think he became infirm somehow and was forced to leave.
Right.
I'm not sure exactly.
Right. But did not spontaneously
combust behind the bar.
Right.
I think sometimes as business owners, we get our identities so wrapped up in the business that we just literally don't know who we are without it. I guess that's what I was saying earlier.
Yeah.
And maybe, I don't want to judge anybody who decides that they want to die in their business or work as long as they possibly can.
I think it's everyone's choice.
Of course it's everyone's choice, but I don't know.
Joe Fragnoli, I remember after I was retired for a couple years, stopped me and wanted to know what was it like, how's it working,
etc. He's thinking about it.
He's exit strategy curious.
And I can't think, there was a couple other people too that asked me the same question, what was it like, how's it feel, etc. And then they eventually retired. And, not all that old, whatever, really, probably in their 50s, that kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe a little older, I don't know. Who can tell any longer how old somebody is?
I know. Everybody's so tricky.
Marilla thinks I'm 25.
It's true.
Well, there you go.
It's true. I think of there was a hardware store here in Geneva.
Yes.
I think of old Vinny, who recently passed away.
Vinny stuck with it quite a bit. He enjoyed it. He liked doing it.
Yeah.
And sometimes they say also, well, what else am I going to do? And then you kind of go, you better stick with it maybe.
Right.
Because you don't want to get stuck not doing anything. Or walking and just staring at walls. Oh, Lord, that'd be terrible.
I think that's You got to know yourself.
Yeah, you do have to know yourself. Definitely. Yeah. You got to be able to get along with yourself really well and know who you are and perhaps, take it from there.
And perhaps get along with your spouse.
Yeah,
you should probably get along with that person too if you're going to retire.
It might depend also your relationship with your children or your grandchildren if you have them. Like, are they close by?
Yes.
Do you get to spend time with them?
Fortunately, they're all like the three families are all within an hour's time. So
fun.
They're far enough away. They got their own space, and I've got and the wife have our own. And but we can be there within an hour's time if we have to.
Yeah.
And we're still babysitting a couple of the young ones right now, one day out of the week. But like I say, also, there's always like the family parties or dinners and visitations or stay overnights and that kind of thing when they come over.
Yeah. If your grandkids though are farther away, you might not have the same motivation to make yourself available to them.
Right.
I don't know. That could factor in. Who knows? Everybody, like we said, everybody has to make their own decision about when it's right for them and how it's right for them to exit their business.
Yeah.
I remember the Christmas 2016, sitting at the kitchen table with all the grandchildren around, most of them anyways, and saying, you know what, guys, next Christmas, I can stay here all day long after breakfast. I don't have to go to work next year.
So cute.
They kind of look at me like, and
you're like, oh, gross.
We got to share the pancakes? Okay.
Well, maybe this is key, though, is that you did decide quite a bit ahead of time.
Yes.
So you had time to process any emotions.
Yes.
You had time to look forward to it, plan how to do it right.
Yes.
You weren't forced out.
No.
You didn't have any health crisis that
Thank
made
God,
you,
no.
not be able to do it the way you wanted to do it.
Yep.
And
honestly,
it sounds like you did it right.
Yeah. Kind of a dream. Like, I mean, I hate to say it for all the area record lovers who are going to be tuning into this episode. But
I will be forever thankful.
It's really incredible. And it's very not to get too mushy-gushy, but it's very inspiring and informative. Like, I hope to download this because obviously I'm not looking at an exit strategy unless somebody shows up with $15 million.
Right.
I'm going to put a stake in what Beth said. That might be motivating. But even looking $15 million in the face at this point, it would be extremely difficult to make that decision at this age of my business.
Not to mention your age. You're still a very young person.
Right. And so, but growing up in families and knowing distant families, somehow we're cousins, Mike, I don't know. But having people in my universe like you, like Beth, like Cindy, like my mother, with these long-running small businesses, it's so interesting and inspiring because everybody has different ways of going about it. And I've seen the best scenario, and I've seen people preparing to have the best scenario, hopefully, Beth, eventually, maybe someday. And I've also seen other people kind of live in denial of what's coming until it peters out and it has to be closed, or it is just wringing them dry and all the joy is sucked out of it. And that is a whole different side of it. It's not well planned and it doesn't feel good and it doesn't have a lot of closure when you just feel forced.
Especially if your customers can see that occurring while it's happening.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. And I can definitely speak to that. That is an extremely painful thing to see happen to something that once was vibrant and passionate. So I listen to these conversations and I want to do everything I can to prepare, make decisions now so that, I don't get so wrapped up in it that I can't ever walk away from my family. And I don't, get so burned out that I can't keep it going.
I know we're going to end this episode any second, but
any second
we're going to end it. But, I've talked about my therapist and therapy on this
This isn't your therapy?
Once or twice. And I got myself back into therapy not too long ago, not because of any crisis.
That's healthy, Beth.
For God's sake. For once, not because of a crisis. But because I had some decisions to make about the future of the business. And I was feeling a little anxiety around them. And I said to myself and to my therapist, I want to make sure that whatever decision I'm making about the future of the business is being made from a place of joy and excitement and anticipation, and not fear and stress and worry. And those are so closely intertwined in your business,
right?
Like you're worried and then Christmas comes and
right. One day you look at your bank account and you're like, oh my God, how am I going to keep going? And the next day everything deposits and you're like, I'm fine.
I'm making good decisions.
Yeah.
But anyways, I guess the point is, if you can continue to think about your mental health throughout the course of your business life, and make sure that when it comes to the point where you need to, whether you're 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70, because sometimes businesses need to be let go, even if you're a young person, because of market changes or whatever else exists.
Families happen.
You might have to let go of your business, but make sure you're doing it in a place that's healthy, coming from a place where you're understanding that it is the best decision to make for yourself whenever that happens in your life.
And that is not advice.
Yeah, and I felt a little bit of the enthusiasm started to dwindle down too because of these outside effects you're mentioning, like all this other stuff going on. And like I mentioned earlier, the attitude changing a little bit with the music distributions and how they were acting about things and being a little extra pushy just to make a sales. And
it's a sign. You saw the signs and you paid attention to how you were feeling. However, that looks for you or Beth.
That all comes into play, all the little things.
Yeah. Well, God, this is a great conversation.
Yes.
I feel like
Do you have anything that you want to add? Any last little tidbits?
No, boy, I really can't think of anything. I really can't think of anything. I do appreciate it, though.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
We appreciate you making the time.
We needed somebody with a point of view from the other side. So thank you so much.
Oh, yeah. And but like I say, it's been a blessing, and being able to do what I did and the experience itself, and then also being one who appreciates music, being involved in music. And that's why I say I never felt like I was going to work, because I had to deal with, the musicians' material I was selling, as well as the musicians that were coming in and buying product. And we never pushed anything.
Tons of good people, tons of interesting people.
Oh, yeah. Did you ever meet anybody famous that was at the Smith Opera House that would just come over?
They used to come in next door, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'll tell you.
Drop a name, Michael.
Derek Trucks and his band, I'll tell you, talk about a number of gentlemen. They're all Southern gentlemen. In fact, what's his name? Derek Trucks concentrated on our blues and jazz section.
Love it.
And he bought almost $500 worth of CDs.
Oh, shout out to Derek.
I'm finding stuff I'm not finding in other stores, he told me.
What a compliment.
And I said, well, obviously, and...
of course, that's all I do.
That's my
all
magic.
day long, they were coming in and out. It was great.
How
but
fun.
Other people from, some of the rock bands like Warrant back in the day. And what's his name? Black Crowes lead singer there, Chris Robinson. Yeah, he was a good guy, too. And sometimes they tell us little stories and whatever, and it was fun. They felt comfortable coming into a music store, which was convenient right next door to the Smith Opera House.
To the theater, yeah.
So that or they send their people over to pick up stuff for them, too.
Like equipment or things? Did you ever have to
Not so much equipment, just all the basic strings, picks, harmonicas, straps and whatever, that kind of thing. And a couple times too, maybe need a little repair service on one of their guitars or something like that, because we did repair service, and sometimes maybe somebody needed an adjustment or whatever, and that occurred. It's all good. It's all good.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate
you.
the time. And Beth, if we can be like Michael, The future looks bright.
Yeah, honestly.
Just be comfortable all the way.
All right.
Be comfortable all the way.
That's it.
It's as easy as that.
And sleep through the night.
Don't run. Just walk. Walk with it.
I love it. I love it.
We chat about the biz. It is the way it is. Thank you for understanding.
We sincerely thank you for understanding. Please visit us at tyfupod.com to learn more about the show, share prompt ideas, or tell us about your own small business experiences. We may include your story in a future episode. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube at tyfupod or at tyfupod.com. Our theme music was composed by Marilla Gonzalez. The show is produced by Kelly Walker. Too bad for Kelly Walker.
Your mother would be my third cousin.
Oh my God.
Yeah, your grandmother's my second cousin, Linda, right? Linda's your grandmother?
Yeah.
She's
Linda was my grandmother's twin.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Just in case you guys all wanted to know.
The twins.